Welcome back to PRN Test Drive. I'm James, and this is the 2024 Chevrolet Blazer EV RS. Now, I don't know about you, but in my area, I've seen the base model Blazer EV pop up absolutely everywhere. And so I'm really excited to be able to finally get my hands on this thing for a week to see what all the hype is about. So today I'm going to take you on a full tour of the Blazer EV RS. I'm going to show you the exterior, the interior, and of course, a test drive. Let's get right into it. So starting off by looking at what is under the hood, or rather what is underneath the floor, since this is a fully electric vehicle, I'm working with an 85 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. Now I've got the all-wheel drive variant of the Blazer EV RS, but you can option a rear-wheel drive version, and that's going to give you a little bit more range. You're going to get 515 kilometers out of it. Now, in terms of horsepower, I've got a motor in the front, motor in the back, that combine for 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque. So pretty good numbers for a general everyday driver EV SUV. Now we have 150 kilowatt DC fast charging available here, and to do that, it's going to take you from 10 to 80% in just 35 minutes. So that's pretty standard, pretty competitive with the rest of the market here. We can also tow up to 1,500 pounds of this, which isn't a bad number in my opinion. I think your range will obviously get affected by that, but still a good number to note because I've seen a lot of Blazers in general, the gas ones, towing stuff around my area. Now, last but not least with the specs and numbers is the as-tested price. I'm looking at around $64,749 Canadian. And I mean, you can tell me in the comments if you think that is high. For Quebec, you would no longer qualify for your EV incentive, so the government would not help you at all about this. So tell me in the comments, what do you think? Too expensive, or is it just right, and have you actually bought one? As for my opinion, wait till the end of the video, and I'll talk about it. So first, we're taking a look at the exterior. We're going to start with the front end for the Blazer EV RS. You can see we have this light bar of a headlight right here. Really nice daytime running LEDs. It also lights up the Chevrolet badge, which is blacked out. So my badges will be blacked out for the Chevrolet stuff. We just have this really big piece of kind of piano black that's going to collect a lot of bugs and stuff, especially if you're a road tripper with your Blazer EV. This is going to be an area that you're going to have to clean. But I do have a front facing camera because we do have a 360-degree camera available here, which is really useful. I always love when I have that available to me, but I really like this front end. It's one of the front ends now that when I see it coming at me in traffic, I know exactly what it is because there is simply so many of these things driving around. And just based off this front end, I get it. It looks really sporty. It looks like nothing else on the market right now. It's in a league of its own, and I'm absolutely here for it. I really do enjoy it. All right, so side profile next for the Blazer EV RS. Really nice red color. GM does a phenomenal red for the Blazer EV. I can't complain. I also really enjoy how tinted the rear windows are. You really can't see in there. That's good, so you don't have to do any aftermarket stuff. We've also got the Aero wheels. These are the standard wheels that are gonna come on the RS version. And I can see, just by looking at this way, I've actually got some usable vents in the front there, so that's very nice as well. I like the blacked out mirror caps with the turn signal LEDs. I've also got one-touch lock and unlock buttons, physical buttons on all four doors in typical GM fashion. I love that they do that, although I would have liked to see an intelligent door handle. When I slip my hand in here, it just unlocks. You can also see from the side profile that it doesn't have that high of a ride height for an SUV. It reminds me a lot of the same ride height that we get on something like the Kia EV6. So it's very easy to get in and get out. You're really not stepping up. You're more stepping sideways, which is really good. It's not on the floor and it's not too high. It's right in the middle. It's just right. All right, so last but not least for the side profile, I want to show you this really interesting charging port right here. So you click right here, and it's going to give you a little show every time. I do really like the design. It looks a bit like a transformer. I think it's cool. However, I worry about this mechanism breaking constantly. It does seem to come out with some gusto, with some force, so that way if it is frozen in the winter, you're not going to have a huge issue, I hope. But it just feels like this might cause an issue in this area. The Cadillac Lyriq has the same kind of setup, so I worry about it on both. But let me know in the comments, people who actually own the Blazer EV, does this break? But as usual, you have your normal level 2 charging port as well as your cover for the fast charging port as well. Now you can buy an adapter and you can connect to Tesla's superchargers, which is a huge deal, and I'm glad GM has implemented that. But from what I've seen, the adapters aren't cheap and you're gonna have to pay for them. So last but absolutely not least for the Blazer EV RS is the back of it. It really looks like nothing I've ever seen before. But again, when I'm behind one of these things, I know just by these taillights that wrap around the body that I'm behind a brand new Blazer EV. base model or not, this is kind of the same design you get. I like the blacked out with the red here again. Really, really nice color scheme. Blacked out Chevrolet badge. We've also got the nice Blazer with the nice kind of blue logo right there in the name, which is nice. All-wheel drive badge, as well as our RS badge here on the back. So very nice. You know I like my badges, so that's great to have. We also do have a rear wiper, which is good. I would like to see it tucked up under, but there's literally no room for that. So this really was the only place I guess they could put it. We also have a secondary camera for our interior camera so that the rear view mirror can be digital. Very good quality. So let's check out the trunk before we actually hop in. One touch, it's going to open automatically, which is nice for the price point. That's good to see. We've actually got a ton of storage underneath the floor here. Like, it's just a canal that goes right down. You can fold the seats down, have plenty of space, but in terms of SUV cargo space for the trunk, I'm very satisfied with this. This could fit any of my needs for my family, my child, anything that I need. I can put it right in here. Full confidence, no problem. So, with that being said, let's hop on the interior. So now, backseat first for the interior of the Blazer EV-RS. Very nice place to spend time. I've got a ton of leg room, a ton of headroom. There's no sunroof or anything like that, which kind of makes the cabin kind of dark. There's not a lot of light coming in, but honestly, I don't really mind it. I think if it was going to increase the price or like even more, then we don't really need one. I also like how there's no center column, so you could just walk. If my child was walking, she could just walk straight to her seat, no problem. Speaking of a baby seat, I've got one installed here. Fits no problem. I can see from the front. Child seems to enjoy it as well, so that's good news. We got this guy that's gonna fold down here. You got two cup holders as well as an armrest, so that's good. I do like the split of materials here on the door. It's kind of like you got your black plastic with the blue and the red stitching. Very nice touch, but it kind of splits things up, makes things feel a little bit less, you know, cost savings, if you will. We've also got two vents. There's no climate control back here, but it's not that big of a cabin where it's a huge concern. I do like the fact, though, that they did give us vents, two USB-C ports, and as well as two levels of heated seats for the rear passenger left and the rear passenger right. So good news there as well. So overall, for the back seat, I could do a road trip back here, no problem. I've got a ton of room. I've got chargers, I've got vents, and I've got heated seating, which is important because it's starting to get cold here in Canada. All right, so business end for the interior of the Blazer EV-RS. I really do like what I see here. There's a couple of shortcomings, and I'll get to them, but let's talk about what you get. So as soon as you get in here, you're greeted by this really nice looking steering wheel with, again, blacked out Chevrolet logo, red stitching around the steering wheel, which I like, and we get the RS badge with this kind of unique design. I think it's very cool. I also like the gear selector here with the column. It's very well done. It's very easy to understand and use. It's very Tesla-like, if you will, but I do like it. Kind of saves us a whole bunch of space here. It's not thin. It's nice and thick, right? You want to have confidence in your gear selector, and I feel like I've got that here, so very nice. I've also got some volume controls on the back, and then I've got this tiny little paddle shifter. It's really hard to see, but it's actually like a handbrake almost, like not like an emergency handbrake, but like if you hold it, it will increase the regen braking to the max, and you can kind of really stop quite quickly with it. It's kind of cool. I've also got my heated steering button, and I've got some buttons to control my digital gauge cluster, which has a bunch of different themes. This has Android Automotive built in, which I think is a really good choice because we get things like Google Maps. If you're a Google Maps user, you're really gonna enjoy this stuff. So that means you can navigate kind of on the fly, and it's really quick, very easy to understand, and you can also go through your different screens, menus, stuff like that. I'm a fan of it. I think they did a good job. Now, the left-hand side, I've got lane keep assist, the brake hold, the parking brake, standard stuff like that. I've also got two levels of memory seats. So that's also very nice. I like to drive cars that have that. And in the price point, good to see. I like these vents too. They're very Camaro-esque. We saw them on the gas version of the Blazer that I checked out sometime last summer. Very nice car as well. This is just a little bit more futuristic because I guess that's the way that GM wants to position their EVs. Now we move on to the big infotainment display. This thing is absolutely massive. I've got ventilated seats, I've got heated seats, I've got the works. I've got all the climate control that you could want, a couple of physical buttons, but most of it you're gonna have to use the infotainment. The good news is that it's really, really quick, easy to understand for most people, I'll say. The biggest shortcoming with the infotainment is the fact that there is no wired Apple CarPlay, no wired Android Auto, and also no wireless for either one. You've got to use what's built in. The good thing for me is I'm a Spotify user, so when it comes to music, I can sign into my Spotify account and use it. I'm also normally a Google Maps user. I've been transitioning to Apple Maps, but that's irrelevant. So for me, this is easy to get used to and understand, but there's gonna be people who wanna buy a car and want both options. And I feel like GM taking that away, you kind of pull yourself out of another market, because honestly, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, people have told me that cars not having that is a deal breaker for them, even today. But I've also got things in here like Wi-Fi hotspot, the ability to change my drive mode and customize the My mode, which is really useful as well. You can schedule your charging, you can even download Waze, and again, I've got the Google Play Store, but I can't download YouTube. So when I'm charging, I can't watch the PRN Test Drive channel or anything, but I can download YouTube Music, which is interesting. So hopefully GM gives us a software update and allows you to do that, because I feel like, you know, you're taking away the Apple CarPlay and stuff, so you're kind of going after the Tesla market, because Tesla doesn't have any of that stuff either, and they do get away with it. Those things sell like crazy. So I think GM will get away with it, like it or not. Now I've also got a ton of storage. This pocket right here goes for days. I've got 2 USB ports as well, 2 cup holders, a wireless charging pad, which is very conveniently placed. I like this placement a lot. A ton of storage in here as well, and the seats are really nice looking. I would have preferred a little bit more bolstering, since this is the RS version. This is the sporty version of the Blazer EV, but it's okay for what it is. I do like the red stitching with the blue accents, and we've also got the RS badge on the headrest. I love that as well. Overall, interior is a very nice place to spend time. I think that, you know, there's a reason why these things are selling, and the interior is definitely one of them. It's a very easy thing to understand and use, and I've just enjoyed it. I was honestly shocked when I stepped in here, because I didn't really see too many pictures. I tried not to look at too much stuff, and yeah, this interior is very solid if you don't mind missing Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So with the exterior tour out of the way, the interior tour out of the way, let's take this thing on the road. Let's take it for a test drive. Okay, out on the road now, Chevy Blazer EV RS. What a great place to spend time. What a great week it's been, honestly. Like, I'm approaching the end of the week here now, so I feel like I've kind of gotten to know the car very well. I've gotten to understand the car very well as well. And it's just been a really good daily driver, a really good grocery getter. It's easy for the family to get in and use. You know, plenty of space for everything I need for my kid and stuff like that. So like, I feel like as a family vehicle, it's really good. And then it also is an electric vehicle on top of that. So, you know, you get the other benefits of, you know, the one pedal driving, which I think is really good. Like I'm using right now. I can, again, shove this paddle in and it really slows down. It's almost like a hard, really hard brake when you do it. But that's really easy to use. I love one pedal driving. I use it on all the EVs that I get to drive. Same thing with the Blazer. It's very good, very efficient. We've also got a little bit of performance too, you know, because it is an EV. So you're going to get this instant torque, which is always fun to use, right? This one, though, doesn't put you back in your seat that much. It isn't surprising. It's just easy to get up to highway speeds, easy to overtake slower traffic. You're probably going to beat a lot of the gas cars off the line. Probably beats the Blazer RS gas version off the line, but really, I don't think that's what people are buying this thing for. You're buying it because you're probably going to take it on road trips. You know, you're going to go pick up kids at school. You're going to drive to soccer, hockey practice. You're going to do all that stuff with it, and this just makes that very easy to do. Handling is okay. I mean, there's like pretty much no feedback. The steering doesn't load up or anything like that, even in sport mode. It's just not meant to do that. It's not meant for anything like that. But overall, it's easy to maneuver. It's easy to maneuver in a parking lot. It's easy to park in tight spaces because of the 360-degree camera. So it's just easy to drive and use. And I think that's where it's going to shine for a lot of people. And that's probably why there's so many driving. I just saw like one pass me just there. So I don't really have any huge complaints driving-wise. It's actually really nice ride quality as well. It's very smooth power delivery even when you stomp on it, and it's also really smooth on the bumps. I drive through some pretty brutal roads here in Quebec, and it's always deleting the bumps. It's always making me feel very comfortable, and I think that's going to be important for a lot of the people that are in the market for this. You know, even if you don't go with the RS, I still think the platform has really good ride quality, and I think that's going to be very nice to have for a lot of people. Now, I said I have the RS version, which is the best version that you can get for the all-wheel drive variant. You can get the rear-wheel drive, but for me, I think the all-wheel drive is where it's at, especially if you live in Canada. You're going to want it. You're going to want to have all that weight pressing your pressing your vehicle into the ground, and then you're also going to want to have motion on all 4 tires. I think the vehicle might be heavy enough that you could probably survive winter with a rear-wheel drive car. I just don't know if I would do it. But let's say you want more performance. You really like the look of the EV, and the Blazer EV, and you just want more power. Well, they have that option. You can option the rear-wheel drive SS version. That thing boasts over 500 of electric horsepower. That's ridiculous. Do you need it? Absolutely not. But let's say you're into the performance thing. You're into like the Kia EV6 GT levels and stuff like that. If you're into it, the Chevrolet definitely has you covered, which is interesting because usually the all-wheel drive versions are the fast ones. You never really see a rear-wheel drive having more, well, you always see it having more range, but you never see it having more horsepower. I'm really curious to possibly get my hands on that thing just to see what it feels like and also why it exists because I don't really think I'm going to see too many of those driving around. I think really what we're going to see is the base, I believe it's called the LT trim. That's the one that I see quite a lot, and it still looks fantastic. I don't feel like if I were to not have, you know, the RS look, I don't feel like I would be cheated. I feel like, you know, I still think that the incentives are good and you should take advantage of them by not, you know, overpricing this vehicle. I think that this vehicle at a very good deal is an absolute highway robbery because I think you're getting a lot of stuff. You're getting a really good EV platform. But I don't know. I think, like I said in the beginning, I think, for my opinion, with the price point here, I do think it's high. I do think you know, once you kind of get out of the level of EV incentives, it's almost not worth it for any EV, especially in today's market where, you know, you're looking at like a 5% interest rate here in Canada. Like, it's brutal. It's really tough nowadays. So you really don't want to overprice this car. And if there is incentives, you want to be below it. You do not want to be over those. You do not want to like price yourself out of that market. So I do think it's a little like on the expensive side. I do think a lot of you are going to agree with that too. Especially for the RS. The LT I think is reasonable because you have your incentives. I think that kind of competes a little bit more, but I don't know. It's really hard to judge because interest rates are going to be different for all over the world. But I still think the top end could maybe be brought down a little bit to give you the incentives, and then people get a more, you know, sporty version of it. I do want to see more of these things on the road. It's a very, very nice looking vehicle. Then it is a phenomenal EV with a ton of space, rear, trunk. There's no frunk, but that honestly doesn't matter because I never use them anyways. It drives really well. It's extremely comfortable. You can use it in the winter. I think this would be an absolute winter unit because it's a really heavy drive, and it's got the all-wheel drive, a decent amount of range, 499 kilometers, call it 500, is decent for any daily commute. My efficiency is 5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's pretty good, and I've done just over 400 kilometers at this point this week, so it's actually really decent. It's really, really efficient too, I find. Even the fact that I have the all-wheel drive, even the fact that I'm using a bit more power, I do think that this is a good vehicle, despite the fact that I would never actually own one. So with that, that's kind of going to round up all my thoughts for the Blazer EV RS. Let me know what you think. If you want to know what the gas version of the Blazer is like, I actually got to drive that last summer, and I still think it's one of the most underrated SUVs in the gas market today. I really, really liked it. It was a nice red, just like this one. It was a little bit bigger. I find the gas versions to be slightly bigger. So if you're interested in not going EV still, you can check that out. It's on the channel here. And let me know in the comments what you think about the Blazer EV. Are you in the market for one? Did you get a sweet deal? How are so many people in these things? Because I still find them expensive even in the base. But how are so many people getting these? Let me know in the comments if you own one. How has it been to live with full time? Do you enjoy not having CarPlay or Android Auto? Have you adjusted to the new way of life without phone projection? Let me know. I want to hear all your thoughts. I really, really love hearing from you guys. And with that being said, I will see you in the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.